Hello, no sprites. Welcome back to the course of Azure DevOps. So, as part of this course, in our previous sessions, we have discussed about the Terraform infrastructure as a code and how do we write the Terraform configuration files. So, moving ahead in this course, today we will see what is Azure DevOps, why do we use it, like how does the Azure offers this service, how do we build and release the images onto our environments using the Azure DevOps pipelines. Starting with it, first we will see what are the topics that we are going to cover and what are the topics that we are going to learn as part of this course. So this course is basically the Azure DevOps associate course where you will learn about Azure DevOps organizations, Azure boards, Azure repositories, Azure pipeline, and then the Azure artifacts. As part of the Azure DevOps overview, we will see like the what is the product history, like when did this start, how did the idea of the Azure DevOps comes up, what is the product structure, how do we create the instances, like how do we create the Azure DevOps instance, how do we use that, what are the services being offered. So all these details we will see as part of the overview in this course. And next, then from there we will move to the Azure boards where we will select what are the different features that we have it in the Azure board. What is Azure board? Like how do we work with the work items? How do we manage the backlogs and sprints? How do we create the Azure boards? That we will cover as part of the Azure boards. Next one we have is the Azure repos, which is similar to the source control tool or the version control that we have it like GitHub or Bitbucket. Here we will see like how do we use these repositories? How do we pull and push our source code? How do we maintain the versioning? How do we create the branches? What are the merge strategies that we follow? How do we raise the pull requests? Like how do we integrate our Azure repositories with the Azure pipelines? So all these details we will see as part of the Azure repositories. And then moving from there, we will next learn with the Azure pipelines, which are the core part of the Azure DevOps service, which will be used for creating and building the images and also responsible for deploying the images onto the environment. So it can be onto the Docker, or it can be onto the cloud service, or it can be onto the Kubernetes. So we will use these Azure pipelines to deploy our images or to deploy our applications onto our environment. As part of this topic, we will see what are releases, what's the difference between them, how do we build the task, how do we declare the variables, how do we declare the libraries, how do we dynamically call the variables, how do we manage the secrets in the Azure pipelines. We will cover in Azure pipelines. Next, coming to the Azure artifacts. So this artifacts is basically the packages that we manage as part of the Azure DevOps service. In this topic, we will see what are package feeds, how do we publish the packages, and how do we consume, like how do we use the packages that are already published, and like how do we create the views for the particular release or the builds. We will see as part of this Azure artifact. Then moving ahead, we will go with the Azure test plans where we will see like what are the different types of tests we have, how do we create the test plans, how do we execute the test plans, how do we perform the load testing on our environment. All these details or all these topics we will cover as part of Azure test